gonna put some cameras on there. Tell, it's gonna be a BB gun, it's go, anybody that,
Just like that, that's what sound they make too.
yes, that is the sound.
It should be interesting, right? They challenged the chief of police with their latest
I know.
antics, so I hope they're smart enough.
Let me,
We'll find out.
Call Daryl?
It's like college, give them 10 minutes.
Usually comes in like that.
Watch. All right. Call this meeting to order, December 14th at 5:03 PM. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Or do we do a roll call?
yeah, roll call, but that's all right.
Okay, we can rise for the roll call.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize. Going from left to right, roll call.
Darrell Jones. Fritz Coleman Sr.
Stephen Morris, 3 makes a quorum. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Under adjustments to the agenda, I would like to add 91A3, Roman 2, A and D. Excuse me.
You got any adjustments, Darren?
No.
I would, I guess I could do it later on, but I would say that we table the nomination for vice chair until we have a full board.
Agreed. Because it's-
So we will,
So you're making that as a motion and I'll second.
okay. And then, well, we'll combine them, right? Both of ours?
Might as well.
Or do you gotta do it separately?
I have one too.
Separately would be better, I think.
Oh. All right, so were you making a motion for yours then? So you made a motion, we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, so I made the motion to table the nomination for vice chair, so we have a full board. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes for adding the non-public and the tabling of the vice chair. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I would like to change the letter E that is on this as budget review to budget discussion for the 2024-2025 school year, and I would like to make it an action item if possible. And this is because we didn't have our meeting on Sunday, so tonight you guys would have been voting to move the budget forward to a public hearing.
So the discussion with possible action, so info/action?
Yes.
Let's put it on there for discussion, but I can't see that it can go forward now.
That's fine.
All right.
I think it's on there as discussion.
Do you have anything else?
I'd like to add, can I
Excuse
put an
me.
addition?
Okay.
A ratification of teacher contract, and then update on trailer at Bus Barn. If I can add that, if I can make the, like, K, so that way the modular classroom is last, because I know we want to have a big discussion around it, so that way we don't have anything after it. And then if I can combine J to say support staff and, or do you want them separate?
We can combine them. Did everybody get a copy ahead of time with the teacher? So
No, but it's, no.
that may be more of a discussion.
Yep.
I would suspect. All right, so I move to change 8E to budget discussion. And under, what was it? J, add teacher contract with the support staff contract, an and teacher. Two different contracts. And then we'll add a new letter K, because everything is basically shifted up for busboard
Yes,
and that's information.
yeah.
Sorry about that.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Order.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you changed the budget review update to budget discussion. Ms. Baboon asked for it to be an action item. It was requested that about keep it informational. Which will it be, please?
Yeah, so I didn't put down an action when I made the motion, I just said the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Did I have a second? I'm sorry.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. We'll move to public comment. We have Ms. Ferrigno.
Thank you. Lisa Frigno, first grade teacher, union co-president, and taxpayer. Before I begin my statement, and if it could count before my time, I just want to give a shout out to Mrs. Strebel, Mr. Robert Lamry, Mrs. Christine Martin, and Mrs. Pickering. Yesterday, we had, I don't know, 3 or 4 different kind of viruses going through Richards. Poor Mr. Lamry, I don't know how many calls I got, was please come with a mop and a bucket. Yeah, and then Mrs. Strebel's office was just jam-packed, and then both of the administrative assistants had to deal with everybody being dismissed early, so they were just the heroes of the day, and I think that they should be complimented for that. Okay, 2 things are true. Everyone in this room wants Newport students to be successful, and everyone in this room likely recognizes the difficult economic times the families, including educators, are facing in our community. Unfortunately, as a school district, we are operating within a public education funding scheme that is unconstitutional and unequal. As recognized in recent Superior Court rulings, the state has passed the buck and downshifted costs to communities. And in those with lower property values like Newport, residents shoulder a disproportionate burden. The state of New Hampshire just got a report card from the Education Law Center. Once again, New Hampshire got an F for state public education funding distribution, with one of the biggest disparities between funding for high and low income school districts in the entire country. This is the context for the discussion we're having tonight and throughout this budget cycle. Because, make no mistake, the state's underfunding of our community public schools impacts our students and our educators. I'm sure we've all seen the Eagle Times article today about the Richards Elementary School. Unfortunately, this is a predictable outcome of a system that pits communities with higher property values against those with lower property values, which is further evidenced in the rankings in U.S. News that show our state's highest performing schools are largely in communities with higher property taxes. Higher property values. As a recent Keene Sentinel editorial opines, it's time to end the misguided idea of doing more with less. Families, students, and teachers in Newport working hard to make the grade despite the uneven playing field we're on. But we need more support. Efforts in this budget cycle to increase educator salaries will have a positive impact on Newport's ability to recruit and retain high-quality educators. As highlighted in a recent Legislative Study Committee report on the New Hampshire teacher shortage, this is a proven retention incentive tactic that can reduce turnover and lead to better outcomes for students. Thank you.
Ms. Mitchler.
Good evening, Melissa Mitchler, Newport resident and just a parent now. I just wanted to talk about a few things. They're on my phone, so forgive me. As I look through the budget, I'm hoping that there will be some clear communication as to how much of a raise the non-contracted employees are getting, instead of just trying to kind of dig through all of that. Just tell us what it is. At our last meeting, there was mention of the freshman seminar classes and the Foundations of Math classes that started with the hiring of this year's high school science and math teachers. They actually started 2 years ago, the seminar and the Foundations class. I know because my daughter's a junior and she was scheduled to be in those seminar classes. And I noticed on the agenda tonight there is another resignation. I do want to point out ED 1113.2, Personnel Standards, Section C, number 3, that states, paraprofessional personnel providing services to children with disabilities shall not assume responsibilities of a teacher or a substitute teacher. There is no doubt in my mind that the paras can do this job, and they probably can do it better than some of the substitutes. They're in there every day. I understand the difficulty that Newport has in getting teachers. I just hope that using the paras is the last resort, going through all other staff, including building and district administration, to cover these classes. Thank you.
Did I miss anyone else from the audience? Okay. Thank you for y'all's input tonight. Next, we'll move to approval of minutes. However, some of these may have to be tabled, because I don't think we have a quorum. Or if 2 out of the 3 of us here vote, then I guess, does that still count, or should I wait and just table it till Tim is here?
I think you can call it, even if you have an abstention for someone that wasn't there. Out of the board members, you have a quorum.
Well, then, we can do that then. So the first minutes are from November 8th. That was the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. Do I have a motion to accept and approve the minutes? I'll make a motion to accept and approve the minutes from November 8th. Do I have a second?
A second. I don't see any reason not to. I don't see any reason not to. I reread that before I came in.
I didn't find anything off, so
No?
all those in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
So motion passes 2-0 with one abstention. Next, I'll have them backwards, I apologize.
No.
Or no, okay. Looked at the wrong thing. Next, we have November 9th. Minutes from November 9th. Do I have a motion?
The non-public was approved during the non-public meeting, wasn't it?
Yes,
Correct.
but the minutes themselves were not.
No, I understand.
So I'll move to accept the minutes from November 9th.
I'll move to second.
And I will vote yes, and I want to talk to Maura and say publicly, I didn't find anything wrong. I went over it twice.
Really? I found something on here.
You did?
Spalding, no, it doesn't have Spalding, comma, senior.
Now, wait a minute, you're on the non-public?
No.
Oh, you're on the minutes.
Page 3. In the bold print,
Did you have your son come in?
you're,
Okay, so I missed it. Sorry about that. I'll apologize for Steve.
all right, so with the one correction, just adding senior after Spalding on page 3 at the bold portion, the motion passed 4-1-0, Spalding, no. Spalding, comma, senior. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes 3-0. The minutes are accepted. Next, we'll move to November 16th. All right, I think I had one, you seconded?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Spalding made the motion, Mr. Jones seconded, and now I think I had. Number 6 on the bottom of page 1. Choose love is that a behavior or is that a
SEL.
social, emotional, and
Yep.
learning
Yeah.
Yep.
character development? So it's just it's not really a behavioral, it's kind of all encompassing. So it should say choose love, social and emotional learning, which is SEL, as they call it.
Look at you.
I usually stay quiet in these, but
No, that's good. You
I feel
know
like
what
somebody
SEL
thinks my
means.
quietness means I don't read them. So.
Quiet can be misinterpreted. I said quiet can be misinterpreted.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 3-0. Minutes are accepted. All right, and then for the non-public minutes, they were approved as they occurred, but is there a motion or anything to
Do we need to?
change or put something? All right, next we'll move on to our student representative report.
Nope, none. Sorry.
So have they made headway in finding a student?
Well, we were going to have one attend today, but last minute, he could not.
He decided to attend the concert instead.
All right, that moves us into information action items. Candidate for school board is Mr. Minnick here. it's the only application that we have. Did you gentlemen get a chance to read it?
Yep.
I would move to continue that till we have a full board
All right.
on the vice chair. That's your next step.
Motion is to table that till we have the full board.
Do we want to accept, wait a minute, maybe, am I getting too fast? Do we want to accept the application?
Only one we received by the deadline. We could extend the deadline
I was
another.
gonna say, can we solicit another round?
I just don't understand when it's not here.
The door's been open for quite a while, and the cattle haven't come in, so. I'd make a motion that we accept the application.
Second.
I'm going to abstain. Because he and I have had several nose-to-nose meetings at the bus barn in the past, so I'm going to stay out of it. I am biased.
All right, so.
Sorry about that, Steve.
No. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm sure.
You didn't put me on the spot. There's plenty of people around town that know how I feel about that, so.
So I'll second it, and I guess we can discuss. Is it something that we should consider, or is it just personal?
No, we should consider it. There were times when I was driving bus that he would come, he had no business being in the bus barn, first of all. He was not a board member, he was not a...
We should be doing that part then in non-public.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we're talking personality.
Oh.
The-
I
the
mean,
question-
we're also talking about appointing him to a board elected by the citizens. But I'd rather err on the side of caution, so.
So I'm okay with moving it to a non-public for the discussion so that we have the knowledge. But to come forward here in a public setting without a person available to,
Defend themselves.
Yep.
Well, then why don't we, so,
I would move that we put this under personnel in non-public for tonight. And
it would be under, C?
we're not a public employee.
Or,
Yep. C, matters of which discussed in public would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person, other than a board member. He's not technically a board member right now, so.
That's right.
I'll second. All in favor of
Holding it off?
holding it off
I'm in
until
favor.
non-public? for
Yes.
Discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, we'll add it to non-public. Next, we'll move to donation from Crossingham family for varsity girls uniforms.
Yes, so the Crossingham family, parent of a varsity soccer player, have graciously purchased new uniforms for the varsity team. They worked with a local business, Paint in Place, and have picked out uniforms at a value of $4,752. The family would like to donate these uniforms to the team and the school, and I am here tonight seeking your acceptance.
I'll move that we accept the donation from the Crossingham family for varsity girls uniforms in the amount of $4,752.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
That's a very nice
We'd like
offer.
to thank very much the Crossingham family for their donation, kind and generous, and I'm sure our varsity girls soccer team greatly appreciated it. Next, we'll move to a donation from the class of 1972.
Sure, it's the desire of the Newport High School class of 1972 to donate to the high school a freestanding public picnic table manufactured by Premier Polysteel. It's commercial outdoor furniture. The picnic table has a 20-year warranty and seats 8 adults. Centered on the top of the table would be a 4-inch by 6-inch plaque stating a gift from class of 1972. The tabletop and seats would be orange and the legs black. The estimated cost, including shipping, is $2,016.18. If the gift is accepted, it would be delivered in the spring. Nancy Hoyt, on behalf of class of, this is from Nancy Hoyt on the class of Hewitt, I'm sorry, Nancy Hewitt, on behalf of the class of 1972. I'm seeking acceptance of this donation. Sorry, Nancy.
I'll make a motion that we accept the donation from the class of 1972 of a picnic table in the amount of $2,016.18.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, your discussion?
I'd like everybody to realize that's 51 years ago, and they still care. Amazing.
It's very amazing. Greatly appreciated if we accept it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Again, as Mr. Spalding said, 51 years and still participating, greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, class of 1972. All right, next we'll go to the budget discussion.
Yes, so you were given a budget to review and at the November meeting, and there was a slight change in the one that you currently have by about, I think it was like $21 in the budget itself. The biggest change came in the revenue and page, which I'd like, if you guys don't mind discussing those changes, I'd like for them to discuss those changes with you, so that way you can see it's in your, if you look in your, this budget book here, it should be on the very, I think it's the last, the very last page. This is the updated one. And so they, if I can turn this over to Rob to discuss that, but if you have any questions about the items inside, I would be more than happy to address that as well.
Okay, so after we submitted a budget for your review, the Department of Revenue Administration contacted me to go over the statement of revenues, and they changed our catastrophic aid. They reduced that by probably like $13,000. And then they also added in some state revenue, which is a phase-out grant, so in the amount of $15,720. So there's been a few minor tweaks just from the Department of Revenue itself that had to kind of review what we had submitted previously.
That's in 3261?
Yes. No,
You
3230.
have the updated numbers. So it would be different from the one that I gave you in November.
Oh,
So this book is up to date.
Okay.
Yeah.
The up-to-date one is the one that's got the yellow lines on it.
At the bottom, so it'll have the taxed, the, this is 102. This is-
Yeah.
That's the report. Yep.
The yellow lines.
What is your total? What is the total at the bottom? Because a lot of them have the yellow line. What is your total?
Total revenue?
It should be 105.
$1.05.
Yes. So the tax rate would be $1.05.
Probably not $1, but
That was the new one that we sent to you today.
Yep.
Now that tax, just so you know, that tax rate of $1.05 does not include the two negotiations that we did with the teachers and with the para-educators. We'll discuss that as we move forward, because you have to ratify that before we can put it in the budget. But I will let you know the tax impact on those.
And so the bottom line, and I think we've said it in an open forum, is with this rate that we know doesn't include the two ratified, or the contracts that haven't been ratified,
Correct.
what would it be without any changes, like just the default? It's similar to the default, right?
We haven't calculated default yet.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have that number. But it, certainly default will be less.
This being an informational, we're not doing any of the budget tonight except for maybe some questions, right?
All right, so we don't know the default, which,
When do we usually get the default?
Prepare it.
that
was a good answer.
I thought we had talked
It's
though, and
important to get the budget kind of set to the level it's at now, then we can go through and do it, because otherwise any change changes two budgets instead of one. It gets too
It's a little
hairy.
confusing.
Yeah. So now we can, now that we've got a document, we can go back now and do the default. We plan to do it next week.
And so I guess my second question would be, does this include what we talked about, I think it was at our last meeting, with the request from the schools?
Yeah, so what we did is, we looked at the amount of overtures that we had in certain areas, and we reallocated funding, so that way it's no cost to the district. So it's just,
And then-
that's why it was only like $24 difference, or
And then
$21.
This budget will basically, whenever this budget, when we finalize it and put it before the voters, it will move everybody that's off of a grant, or just those on ESSER grants?
Those that are on ESSER grants, because our ESSER grant is the one that is expiring in September.
Okay.
So it's taking the teachers and staff that were on ESSER, moving them into the general budget, as well as adding the full-time athletic director, the part-time going to full-time, adding the study hall monitor, and then adding the, there was one other thing, was it? Oh, the full-time sub.
And one more, right off the top of my head, which I'll pause. Whenever you said something that sparked a question, but I've already phased on it, so I'll think about it and turn it over to the other gentlemen for their questions. Yes, Mr. Spaulding?
I just kind of want to set the tone. School tax rate last year was up 16%. And talk about a gut punch. The first half of that increase didn't come in the first bill. It all came in the second bill. You with me? In other words, the increase is this much. Usually half of that comes in the first bill. It's all in the second bill. I believe that was not expected by a large majority of the voters. So that sets the tone of what comes next. If a person is desperate, you ask him for $1, he's probably going to smile. If it's the last dollar in his budget, he's probably going to say no. If he's got $100 left over in his pocket, he's probably going to give you something. It sets a different appearance. That being said, if we deal with function, to me, that is better because it puts things together rather than separating them by. Is that a preference for anyone else to do it differently?
Function.
You can do it by function, or you can do it by, what's the other word?
Object, location.
Didn't we redo it last year, so it's by location?
They can put it in and do it any way that we want it to do. So the budget itself can come out, we can tell you exactly how much Richard spends, or we can tell you exactly the middle school. But then when you do it just by, like, the one way, the main budget will just say salaries, and it'll be everyone that is a teacher. It'll be para salaries, everyone that's a para. So it breaks it down that way. So we can break it down multiple ways, like we have in this book, right? So the book, we have the whole budget in the front, and then we've broken it down by departments. So it talks about, like, how much is in my budget as a superintendent, how much is in the business budget, how much is in Richard's, so that way if somebody wanted to get a look at what is in each school, they would know. And as well as at the end of each one, what we've done is we put justification pages. Anything over $5,000 has a justification page at the end that will give you the line item and then why we made that change. So every single one has that in each department.
In fact,
over 5,000?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Which
so
we
in this
found
book,
that
you do have it
useful
by
last-
function. There's a section by function, and then there's a section by location. And that's the full budget.
I did not get a booklet, but I don't think I need it because I've got all of the numbers.
Yeah, I think we I think we just gave you the thing before we put the ring binder on them. Melissa was doing that today.
Yeah, I would have liked a copy like this instead of the hundreds of pages of
Well,
PowerPoint.
we have to get it to you
Oh, I know.
via email, so,
I'm not a PowerPoint I don't like working on a laptop. I like working on paper.
yeah.
But I said to Rob that to give it to us in so many different ways of saying the same thing. And in the end, all of what you add up from the individuals comes to what you would see in the function. And the nice thing about the function is it draws things together.
Yeah.
I don't believe we're gonna get down there and figure that we're gonna give $100 for this and $100 for that. We're looking at a larger piece of the puzzle. So I'll deal on the function side. How's that?
Did you have any questions?
I like the function side too, I understand it better.
I like seeing it, but I like both ways.
Well, I suppose if you need clarification on or expansion on the function side, you can go to that on individual lines and do that. But to me, the function side, it's the more practical way of looking at it. And I don't want to say the other way is the bean counter's way of looking at it, but I understand the function side much better.
Still gives you the opportunity to ask questions.
Right.
Yeah. And gets rid of the complexity of setting this all aside. Yes, I agree with this and this, all of this, and then going back and making sure that the math comes to the, did you eat the pie piece by piece or spoon by spoon?
Well, when I was in the military industrial side, and Steve, you probably understand part of this too, they give you the same numbers in so many different ways that by the time you're done, you're going, because you don't understand a bit of it. And I finally, when I was at Sanders, finally said, listen, break this down to functional aspects. And then, if we as a board get to the point where we need more clarification, we can ask for an expansion on that line item rather than doing it on everything across the board, because once again, you end up buried in numbers. So that's the reason I feel the way I do. I've lived it before.
Well, I recall my final comment that I was going to make, and it touches on what Ms. Ferrigno talked about, but Mr. Lund and Ms. Kathy Hubert were both highly involved in the court cases, and so when Ms. Ferrigno said that right now the state is our school system as it is, at least on the financial side, is unconstitutional, I would just say that we need to make sure that we're reaching out as a community to our representatives and our state representatives and state senator to push so that our tax rate can drop and we can maintain, because like Mr. Spalding said, whenever it comes in one bill, it's a punch in the gut for those who are putting aside however many hundreds of dollars a month to pay their property taxes. And we're one of those communities where I think with the property revaluations, we did not see our taxes drop, but like you said, they're still going up. And at a certain point, it's going to be unsustainable. So I know that we're operating, and we all know that. But as a community, if we could reach out to our representatives and senator to fight for us to get our fair share of money from the state. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Going back to Kathy Hubert, I called her the day that it came out and thanked her because she's the only soldier that we have. And not that she won the war herself, but she was our only voice. And in reading that case, it is astonishing that we cannot sue the state for back bad deeds. Because it is unequivocally wrong. And we sit here trying to put this together, and no matter how we put this together, with the money that we have, even if we could get another couple of dollars per thousand, we still aren't anywhere near the cost per child. And so we can't compete. This isn't like college where you pay a lot of money to go to an anti-Semitism school, and get a great education. We're out here with what we get. The
That was a
state,
dig at Harvard.
Oh, I know. I understand.
At first, I thought you meant seminary, and then
No,
I got
I
the
understood.
so we're between a rock and a hard place, and we have to live with it. But to read that decision, he found strongly for us. It wasn't a marginal thing. When I say us, I mean the system being wrong. So that all being said, we owe Kathy.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I just want to let you know that our district is in a different lawsuit than Kathy's. Our district is in the Conval lawsuit. And so I had to testify in court at the Conval lawsuit, which that's one of the cases that we have won. I also want to let you know, I'm just going to read that this morning, the state moved for reconsideration. The state does not argue that it costs less than $7,356.01 to provide a constitutionally adequate education, but rather alleges that the court has overstepped its power in ordering the general court to provide funding. So currently, the state is appealing the decision. Now, if the state appeals the decision, this could bring us out 2 more years until we're back in court,
Wow.
But now picture
if it's granted.
Picture it this way, we have 2 entities of government, judicial and legislative. But between that governs both, is the Constitution. So, okay, so what are you saying, state? You're saying that the Constitution doesn't matter? And the stupidity of it is if a child has a right to an education, and he lives here in Newport or Sunapee, it should be similar. Or else, the right is not a right. It could be, this is the best we can do. No. If you spend $20,000 over here on a child, there should be $20,000 here statewide,
Should be equalized that way.
equal. In order to be a constitutional right, it's got to be equal. So the state is playing games, but that just goes to show money matters. Those with money got the money to pay the attorneys to milk this for all they can, for as long as they can. And there'll be no back pay.
This battle's been going on for eons and eons. I mean, when I first moved to New Hampshire in the early 80s, this was still a battle, and it's never been resolved. And frankly, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have the biggest idea how to go about that. But we need to get somebody in that can shake the bush and make it happen. And I'm not smart enough to know what that is, but I recognize the fact that it needs to be done.
Well, it's sad when our own government ignores the Constitution as far as paying. the kids.
Exactly.
Yep.
You don't pay your taxes, I bet you the state will find you.
Oh, you know they will.
You have any more discussion on the budget?
All I want to know is when we're going to get the printing machine in here so we can make more money so we can keep up with it. And that's not just here at school department, I'm talking about the city.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that moves us to the budget hearing.
Yes, so the budget hearing is scheduled for January 11th of next month, which is going to be here in the conference room at 6:30. So now, that's the hearing where that gives the opportunity for the public to get an opportunity to speak on the budget. We have to be able to move the budget forward in order to get to that piece. So do we need to have another meeting the first week of January for that to happen?
We've not had any, in reality. Today was a discussion.
Yeah, so we had the one discussion in
So-
November, and then we were supposed to have our retreat this past weekend, but we didn't have a quorum, so we had to cancel that. And then today. So we've had one discussion about the budget. This is the second discussion about the budget with the things that we talked about at the board meeting in November. And then comes the retreat, but we didn't do the retreat, where you guys really dive into everything. And then the hearing.
My feeling is you're going to need two with the board before you go to the public hearing.
So do we want to do that the first week of January, or I see you have the meeting on December 28th. So we were going to cancel it, didn't we?
Well, I was going to ask for that to be canceled, only because we're all on vacation.
I thought we decided that in November. I thought-
No, we did November's.
Oh.
No, we didn't do November's because it fell on Thanksgiving.
No, but I mean, I thought we talked about, maybe it was just you and I talking.
Yeah, I think that was just.
I thought we did it at a board
Yeah, when
meeting.
we're talking about the agenda.
Okay, so I don't mean to skip forward, but I was just,
Yeah,
I didn't know if that was for cancellation,
yeah, that was
because y'all are all going to be on vacation.
Yeah,
So that makes sense. So the first week in January,
Tuesday and Thursday, the 2nd and the 4th. Are they sobered up by the 2nd?
we're back here.
you're back on the 2nd?
Yep, we're back on the 2nd.
Used to hate that when I was a kid. When the day after the holiday, you're back at it. And when I worked full-time. So you said you want to do 2 days or just one of those 2 days?
I think we'll find that we'll need the 2 days.
Well, if we do it for 2 days, then we should do it in like 2-hour time blocks or something, right? Or at least the first one, or?
Whichever works best for you guys, I'm fine.
Can I raise one issue on the budget now? Ed, if we take the $250,000 of what we're going to return to reduce taxes out of this year's budget, we reduce it by that amount. I've come to the conclusion, what sense does it make to take it from them to give it back to them? In order to get the 250, we got to have it, get it. It is nice in a $20 million business we're running here. It's nice to have a cushion. But in this case where we are with the 16% and the tax bills being double in the latter part of the year, if we could do that, we change our number by 33 cents down.
The issue is that when we propose a budget for the following year, we are not budgeting for $250,000 to go back to taxes. What we're doing is we're budgeting for the needs of the school district, in particular special ed and staffing levels for the programs that we want to give to all students. And the reason we've had the surpluses is partly because we've had vacancies that we couldn't fill after significant attempts to fill all of the positions. So it's hard to budget for vacancies. So we've proposed exactly what we believe we need for staffing. There's nothing budgeted to create a surplus.
Okay. But you're anticipating,
In the current year, we anticipate still having a $250,000 surplus because of those vacancies now, but they won't affect what we're asking for in the budget next year.
if that 250 came out of there, it would reduce the bottom line.
Right, but you would send your superintendent and staff back to the drawing board to figure out how to cut $250,000 in the budget. And they're all positions that we need.
The exodus of teachers out, higher paying teachers out, lower paying teacher in, that is the usual kitty, for lack of a better word. Well, maybe we just do a portion of it, rather than the 250, do something less. Because there is an expectation we will have money, whether we budget it in or out. So I raise that now, not for motion, but for thought, for the 2 days that we would come back and talk about it, how we could do that.
And that's separate from revenue?
Well, it's on the revenue sheet.
Right, but the way that I understand from Ed, though, is that to do that, then we wouldn't have the science teacher, or just for example, or whatever, for next year's budget, because we would basically have reduced that position because we didn't fill it. But then we're gonna come back and ask, we need to fill it, and we don't need it. So I kind of understand that, but it's worth thinking about, trying to find creative ways to save money.
The 250 on the revenue sheet is a result of the current year, not an expectation of what's going to happen in the future year. Yeah.
But it's doing an extrapolation. If you did it this year, and didn't do it this year,
Why not?
in the end, it winds up the same. You either take it from me, and you give it back, it's fine. The taxpayer shouldn't use me, the taxpayer. But anyways, it's for discussion, so that at the next meeting, everybody is prepared to argue their side of the story, and one side or the other wins, and away we go.
We'll look into it. Be prepared.
Okay. So we kind of moved on. Do we have any conflicts then? So we need to pick,
So you want to do the January 2nd and January 4th for meetings?
Do you have a budget advisory committee on the 4th? I see it on the budget calendar.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Herb's like, yep, we do.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
But that's at 6:30. My budget advisory committee meeting is at 6:30. So if we can do maybe like a 4 to 6, so that way we, and then maybe the first one, if the January 2nd one, maybe we do later, so that way anybody that's working can come, if we do and then the 4th, we do an earlier time, maybe start at 4, and if we can leave by 6:15 to go to that, well, it's here, so.
If you don't have a quorum for the BAC, you don't have a meeting.
Right.
And as of today, there's no quorum.
For the BAC?
There's 4 out of 7.
Approval to have fewer than the minimum amount.
Right. The article requires you have that many You have 7 or 9, I forget which one.
I think it's between 7, yeah, it's 9 members of the full board, I believe,
Right.
plus the 2 reps.
And so without that,
Yeah, I don't remember how many we have, because I know we were looking to have somebody else join too.
Right now, we have 4 members. I
This-
asked the acting town manager if we should proceed with a request of both boards, the school board and the select board, about changing the minimums. from the number of people, because that's all we had, and we weren't getting any new applicants. And I was told that it did not matter, that we could go with the 4.
I don't know how you can do that with the warrant article. First, in order to change it, takes a warrant article on the town side to do that in the first place. So that means the earliest you would know would be May. That's long after. So, yes, you can have a meeting with 4 people, but you cannot have a meeting with the BAC. It doesn't exist until it has a quorum. Until it meets the criteria, excuse me. Is that stated correctly, Herb?
Sounds correct. At least that's the way I felt.
So BAC is an actual
Has,
government entity that's approved by the legislative body of the town.
yes.
So do we need
So what
civilian volunteers?
we need to find at least 4 that the chief of police can handcuff and take to a meeting. Or we need to advertise, fine, beat the bushes or something, or else we will not have it.
So then we need to do a call out to the community, and we need to join the budget advisory committee, where you'll review both the town and the school budget and make recommendations. I mean, I'm boilerplating it down to what you see whenever you.
Pretty much.
Herb, can I get a, you must have a copy of the original warrant article?
I
No?
have the policy, but I don't have the warrant article.
That'd be nice to have that. We actually read what the voters approved.
Do you want me to go grab the, I think it's right on that, it should be on that thing.
But
I think it's our school district.
it's not the first time this has happened.
We didn't have one last year.
Who are the 4 members? 'Cause I think I have one of them.
Myself, Ken Newport, Kurt Minnick, and
Committees,
Seth Milner is supposed to be, he's not.
And then, click on that. And then there should be,
Plus you got the member of the school board, member of the selectmen, so you've really got 6 then.
so I have 6, right? So I have you, Jeff, Ken, Tim, Kurt, John.
With the 2 reps, counting the 2 reps, yeah. I guess we really can't count Seth yet because he's an official. He's supposed to be coming on board.
We gotta read the warrant article.
Let me get, I have the policy, I don't have the warrant article. Let me grab the policy and make a copy.
Oh, no, this is our policy.
No, that's ours.
So if you don't want to call your congressman or woman or your senator, you can join the BAC for some, especially if you love accounting and finance. Checking, because basically you're checking and validating not only
Right.
what we're doing with our budget, but also making sure we didn't miss something or.
Yeah, and something else also came up just in the recent conversation. If we have a place for 2 board members for the school, we already filled that. Now, we have Kurt coming, we can't have 3. So Kurt comes in and doesn't change the number.
From what I understand, from what I was told, you can be a member of the board and still sit on the BAC as long as you don't represent that board. You don't lose your rights as a citizen because you sit on another board.
So we're just saying you can have 3 school board members on the town side. That kind of sounds a little unfair, doesn't it?
It does sound unfair, but you can do it that way as long as
Well, I mean, if you're not
they
discussing
be impartial.
school business, right? I mean, I don't know, because
I don't know
you're
either.
also talking about having a quorum present, or no? You're not even thinking that far ahead?
Well, I believe the article sets a criteria. It has to be 7 to 9 to even exist. And that's why we need to find the documentation for the actual, what the citizens approved, because it is not, it's not us or the town. It is the voters.
Between 7 and 9 members.
I think. It's been a long time.
It's got to be an uneven number anyway, so you don't vote yourself into a tie.
9 members, then you have the 2 reps. So you could have a total of 9 or 11 people on the board if you have a full board. But you gotta have a minimum of 7 members.
Thank you, Dan.
Procedures?
So it does say, but no less, it can, the BAC shall consist of up to 11, but not less than 7 members. And then it goes on to include 1 select member, 1 school board member, as recommended by the respective boards, and 9 other registered voters of the town. So currently, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you said someone on there, because we have Herb's on there, Jeff's on there, Ken's on there, Tim Beard is on there, Kirk Minnick is on there, and John Lund. So that's 6.
We gotta go back one step further. We gotta have the actual warrant article that was voted.
All right, so I'll put that on my list of things. So with that being said, if we do it and if we split up between 2 days, we make the first day 5 p.m. and the second day, if we do it 4 p.m., depending on how well prepared everybody is in the discussions on the first day, we may not even need 2.5, assuming that we get the BAC established. But that would be my recommendation, is to hold it an hour earlier, knowing that then it gives you a cutoff time too, so that we gotta get it all done in that 2.5 hours. But if we don't have a BAC, then we can continue on.
Correct. Okay.
So,
Somewhere in there, we gotta get a copy of the warrant article.
Yep.
January 2nd at 5 p.m. The budget,
Yep.
what are we calling it?
We can call it a budget retreat if do you want to call it a retreat, or do you want to call, I mean, technically, we have to have one that is, we get more input from, we have a budget hearing, but prior to that,
Budget work session?
the budget work session, is that what you want to call them? I can give it more of a technical term, because I know one of them may have to be, one is going to be one you guys have to vote to move it forward. And those meetings will be here.
So that takes us to our next closing school on January 23rd, to the presidential primary.
Yes, so I sent you a calendar, and the calendar did not have us closed on the date for the presidential primary, which is January 23rd. Because the town uses our school district, I'm asking the board if they could amend or change the calendar that they had approved last year. We approved it on March 9th of 2023. I'm asking if we can make an adjustment to that calendar to have us closed on that day, on the 23rd. We do not need to make that day up. 22nd, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'll move to
No, 23rd.
approve the updated.
It's the 23rd, yeah, it's the 23rd.
Oh, I thought you had
Did I mark it here on the 22nd?
22nd.
Yes, you did. Yeah, it should be 23rd. I changed that, sorry. Thank you.
All right, so with that other correction, I'll move that we accept the updated calendar for school year 2023-2024 to account for the presidential primary on January 23rd.
Second?
And then for discussion's sake, I'll just say that the reason why this is on there is because they had to wait for Iowa. Right, there's like politics involved with it, otherwise we would have accounted for it ahead of time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes 3-0.
So it's January 23rd?
Sir.
Yes.
All right, so we kind of discussed the December 28th, I think this is the second time, but, so there will be no board meeting on the 20,
I'm asking the board if we cannot have that meeting on December 28th.
I'm fine with that. Enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. Very much appreciate that.
Unless any other, I mean, I'm one of three speaking here.
I'm good with it.
I don't think we have to vote on it, I think it's just,
Yeah.
all right.
The only problem it presents me with is what am I going to do with all that spare time?
That moves us to our next, the Comprehensive Support and Improvement School. Richard.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to Brent Kane, and it has to do a little bit about what you saw, what was in the paper today that Lisa made reference to. So I'm going to have Brent talk a little bit about that. This, I just want to say, this wasn't a surprise that we were on the list. I had told the board that the plan was, I knew that we were going to be on the list because we hadn't had the opportunity to make the changes that we needed to make for the first round of testing. And when we talked about all the things that we put in place for this year to help get us off the list. But now we're on the list for 3 years. You're automatically on the list for 3 years. But I'll let Brent talk a little bit about it.
Okay, so as Donna said, it's not a surprise, but so late in the game last year, we didn't get our funding until around February, and that's when West Ed came in to work with Richard's school to kind of create a school improvement plan. And so they came in and did that. It was involved a lot of talking with teachers, talking with students, getting input from all stakeholders. And so we have the report back from them. We got that report in May. So the leadership team worked on coming up with goals that they were going to work towards. So that was May. So very late in the game. Now, can't really do much in that last month of school. So now they have a plan, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. So there were some strengths that came out of this and what they found, and that one of those is the culture and the continuous improvement in caring for students, which I don't think is any secret. We know that our staff is really caring and works hard to make sure students have what they need. Another strength was they work really hard to remove barriers for kids. Again, no surprise. Making opportunities for our students and making sure everybody has as a level playing field as they can. One of the big major needs was to develop and communicate, monitor, and support commonly defined set of instructional best practices. So that's consistency, and I know that we've talked a lot about that here. So we put some things in place already. The curriculum meetings that I've referenced in my weekly blurbs to you all, and so those started, and we've had some really good conversations to make sure everybody is on the same page as far as what curriculum means and what we have to support that here. Making sure everybody knows what the standards are, what the competencies are, differences between those, what tools and resources we have, how we're assessing kids. All of that is just making sure everybody is on the same page and that we have that. So if new staff come in, we have something to hand them and say, this is what we do here in Newport. So those have been really beneficial. We also have a program coming in. It's going to start off with Rob, the principal at Richards. It's called Teach United. And Teach United is basically, oops, sorry, lost my spot here. It's a professional development opportunity for teachers and administrators to enhance learning conditions. So it's really going to focus in on coaching for impact and leading for impact and making sure, again, everybody's on the same page and providing some opportunities for our staff to be coached, not just trained, but just in the moment coaching. So Rob will start that in February. So it's kind of a staggered opportunity. Another need was supporting teachers' professional learning and the capacity to provide rigorous, evidence-based instruction by providing ongoing, differentiated instructional coaching. And I just talked about Teach United, and so that's going to hit that right on the head. We're also bringing in Responsive Classroom, which will bring some other strategies and to build that differentiated learning environment. It also brought forth a couple of opportunities. The first one is to utilize the strength of prioritizing improvement and communicating urgency to support priorities of engaging students and families in educational goals. So it's really getting families and the community involved in what we're doing in our schools. And I know that's something we've talked about at these meetings a lot. Another opportunity is to utilize the strength in soliciting and acting upon stakeholder input, so getting input from all stakeholders, parents and communities included, in order to complete in short-term and long-term goals. So all of this is stuff that we've already talked about, but now we have a plan, and Richards has set some goals to help do that. And we've already started putting some things in place to help that. So now we have additional funding coming to us in the next couple of weeks to help reach those goals. We don't know how much yet, but
It's like last year, we got the bunch of money. So it's basically the same thing, but it's over 3 years now that we'll be receiving funding versus just the one and done.
And is this funding for curriculum or?
it could be for anything that's going to go towards our goals. So any of the things I just talked about, culture, climate, instructional practices, family engagement, those are big topics. So if it falls under those and it goes with our plan, then we can use it for that.
I guess my question would be, so I've been on the board for like a year and a half now, and whenever I look at and approve my signature, all the expenditures, it's monthly or every 2 weeks. We spend a lot of money on behavioral. I know that we had students that have come in and talked about the behavior. Teachers are affected by behavior. Did West Ed make any recommendations? Did they notice anything as far as behavior goes?
Yeah, so they have some other questions that they just posed for our consideration as we move forward in our work. And one of the things on here was what professional development opportunities are provided to support staff, what professional behaviors, are all students receiving grade level instruction, so it's what adjustments can be made so that discipline plan has a greater impact on student behavior. So they do talk about behavior in some of their considerations, and I think that does fall into some of our goals.
No. I don't know enough about it.
Andrew Booton, McDonough Road. When will the results be made available to the public, and how can we access them?
I have a meeting with the person who did the results next week, and we're going to be going over that type of stuff. So hopefully within the next few weeks.
When was that meeting again?
I don't know exactly when it is off the top of my head. It's scheduled for, I think it's the end of next week is when I'm meeting with them.
Okay. Can we get an update after that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Great, thanks.
I'll send something out to families once it's, because it's going to go on our website. And I'll send something out to families like I normally do, like I'll send a mass email out saying, you know, here's the document, it can also be located. And I've also posted on What's at Newport and through our Facebook. So I do send a lot of that out. And then when we come to our next board meeting, I'll be able to have that discussion.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
The second thing is, When will Mr. Clark be doing all the training with the teachers at the school? Is that going to be during the school hours, or are they going to be after school hours, or is that more like professional learning days?
Probably a combination of both, of all of that. I know that coming in the next couple of PD days, we have somebody coming in to do PD on behavior. So it'll be sprinkled throughout
Okay.
different opportunities.
Okay. I'm just wondering if all teachers are going to be able to attend.
Yes.
Thanks.
Can you answer if that includes paraprofessionals?
Yes. Everybody.
I just want to clarify, make sure I understand correctly, that report that Bren is referring to will be on the website in, say, about a month or so?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know there's other things that you didn't probably mention, but we've talked about
That was the-
curriculum, how we're the K through 8 for
What was
science
nice
and
is
math.
that none of this is stuff we already knew we had to work on. It's just giving us funding to do some of that. So the state is always saying, oh, you need to do better in this, and good luck. But now we're actually getting a little bit of something to back us and while we work on some of these things.
I just want to make sure that it's not just professional development, but there's other things that we have done.
Right. Yes. It's curriculum, it's best practices on, instructional practices for staff, and behavior falls under that too.
And then making sure the staff is trained on how
Correct.
to execute the curriculum properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that carries over, right, year to year, because we've briefed that we've noticed in your initial assessment was that from third to fourth, I'm just throwing out random, so if I'm wrong, but different techniques or curriculum that they're using because it wasn't all properly aligned.
It wasn't even consistent. Now it's consistent, so.
Yeah, so it's consistent. We put in the new math program that's now K to 8, and that's consistent. Bren's been meeting with grade level teams and looking at their curriculum to say, okay, here's what the standard is. What are you doing in your class to meet these standards? Then when you have it all laid out, you look and you say, oh, we're not hitting this standard, or this is a standard that should be in 3rd grade, why are we doing this in 2nd grade? That type of stuff. So all that work is being done. And we'll have, once that's all mapped out, then we'll bring it to the board for the board to look at and approve that, and then they'll post that on our website as well. So if parents want to know, hey, what's being taught in 2nd grade, what standards and how they're hitting it, they'll be able to go right onto our website, and there it is. So we're working on getting all that together as well.
And unfortunately, I know it takes time. It's like moving a barge, kind of slowly turning, but we want quick results.
Unfortunately, I had to, the teachers took a day out of their classrooms, but it was really beneficial and they're really great conversations, and we were able to not be distracted and get a lot of work done in that day. So, and now we have action steps to move forward to the next steps. So,
I think the whole, not just the parents, but the whole town will be excited. And I think, from my perspective, it seems as if we're moving the barge in the right direction. My assessment, individual. Gentlemen, any comments, questions?
No? I'm following.
No?
No, I'm following what's going on.
You can fix it if you can recognize it.
I didn't hear anything that y'all just said, but I have a feeling that y'all are being...
He said he's following it. He said he can fix it.
Oh.
You can fix it if you know what it is.
Got it.
So keep moving ahead if it needs fixing.
As
we'll do it.
opposed to just ignoring it. What do you mean? I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
All right, so that moves us to ratification of the support staff contract.
Yeah, so did you want to talk about it or do you want me to talk about it? Okay.
I
So-
participated, I was on this negotiating.
Yes, so you can fill in. So there's some changes that we've made to the current contract for support staff, and I just want to go over with you the changes that we did approve. So the very first thing was Article 13. We now said to them that you could take leave time in hourly increments. So what was happening is, if they had a doctor's appointment that was a 15-minute doctor's appointment, they would have to take, I believe it was a part of the day. right? It would, for the whole day or just a portion. Now, if it's gonna be an hour, they can take an hour. So, and we figure that's beneficial for them as well as for our students, because they don't have to take 4 hours. Because if I was gonna go to the doctor's appointment and be docked for 4 hours, I'd wanna take the 4 hours, right, and not come right back. So this would change that. Anyone that does not take on Article 13 again, if they take no leave time during the year, they receive $250. That was another thing that we added. Article 15, we gave 12-month employees the day before Thanksgiving off, which is the same as the entire district. They were the only ones that did not have it, so we added that to that. Article 16, we provided access to the employee handbook as soon as it's available, but at least 2 weeks before the school, because the staff are required to sign off saying they've read it, and so we want to make sure that it's given to them in enough time. Article 17, we cleaned up the wording a little bit on that, but we also added that if a workshop is done before an employee's scheduled time, they can work out their contracted hours. So what that means is, if say there's a workshop and the workshop happens to get done at 12, but the employees, they're hourly employees, they normally get paid they get work till 3 per their contract. Instead of them leaving at 12 and losing out on those 3 hours worth of pay, they now are able to stay and work on something that, is given to them, not just anything they want, but it's something specific to whether it's their grade level or the curriculum or whatever, the programs that they're working on or their students, so that way they'll be able to get the pay that goes along with what their contracted hours are. Article 19 talked about the support staff allowing the paras, giving us information, input at the end of the school year on things that they feel would be helpful for them when we're developing our professional development. Then we have Article 19 again. So the reimbursement for college courses was $5,000. We upped it to $6,000. For anyone that wants to take any college courses, they could write in asking for reimbursement. Article 19, we took out funding through grants for PD because we don't always know if grants are going to be there, and so we ended up taking that part out. Article 19 is the payment of up to $150 for a support staff member that is either is for the preparation of material, if they're going to be facilitating or doing any type of training during one of our PD days. Sometimes we often ask, our staff to come in and do some trainings for us. In this way, anytime that they're doing after hours, preparing or buying the supplies that they need, they'll be reimbursed for that. The biggest change, what you'll see, and you should have the copy of this here, is on the back page, which is the steps increase. So the support staff wage increase is 90 cents per step, except for step 10, which was added, that is 50 cents. So that will be the new salary schedule. Currently, it's $15.55 is for step 1, and now they're at $16.05. So we're looking at raising up their salaries. Yeah, it's like 50 cents, but then each step is 90 cents.
I just also want to clarify that the $6,000 fund isn't, so basically up to 4 people could utilize that $6,000 for undergraduate or graduate.
Yes.
Just to make, because you kind of glossed over it just for the public.
No, I appreciate that.
Understanding it's not 6,000 per, it's total of 6,000.
So let me just let you know, that is $105,385 to the budget, add that to the budget as it's presented to you this evening, which would be the tax rate of 14 cents, making the tax rate $119. And that's before the teacher contracts.
May I just update something?
Yep.
There was the extra day that you added for there's a cost associated with that that I hadn't figured into that 105. My quick calculation here on my computer says it's probably about $10,000. So it should be 115,000
Okay.
is be the total cost, and it'd be a slightly different.
What would the tax rate?
Yeah, I can, 115, divide that by 7.46. It's about 15 cents.
So it'd be 15 cents versus the 14. So that would bring it up to $1.20.
Based on what you provided us so far before
Yes, before the meeting. So the current budget book that you have has $1.05, adding on which is the teacher's contract is part of the budget, right? So it's not, the support staff is part of our budget, it's not a warrant article. So that would make our second, I think that would be our second, the operating budget, Article 2, would be $1, it would now be $1.20.
So this isn't a warrant article?
No, that would not be in a warrant article. It hasn't been for years.
So we're looking for ratification.
I would think it should be part of the warrant article. It's money we're spending.
It's embedded within the operating budget warrant.
Right.
So we disclosed the total costs in that article.
Because it's a contract, I want to see it done, so next meeting for me.
You want to see what
I want to see the changes on the paper.
the what on the
I
paper?
want to see the changes, okay?
Oh, you mean from
I think
before?
that's what this is here. That's what I gave you.
No, he's saying he wants to see,
What Ed just brought forward changes the contract, and my signature goes on the contract. So I want to see it, period.
Your signature doesn't go on this contract. Steve's signature goes on the contract? You're talking about this,
Somehow, in order for this to happen, the consent of the board has to be in plot, has to be here. And-
we normally we'd vote on it, but you're saying you don't want to, you would like to not vote on it tonight? You want more information?
That's correct.
What information? You want to see last year's or next to this?
I want to see the finals that Ed just talked about.
Oh, you mean the extra,
Yeah, it'll be 10,000 based
I
on.
don't think that's gonna not be on this.
Yeah.
He's talking about that on the budget side.
Okay, but I have to look at the whole thing. Is it imperative that it passes tonight? What is the thrust? This is the first that I've seen of this document, and the first that I've heard about any of the negotiations. The board has not been updated on what was being talked about in non-public sessions, none of that. So, blind until this. So,
so I get it. So what we'll do is we'll get those final numbers, because that's going to affect the budget, so that means this booklet's going to change a little bit. And then, I guess in non-public, I'll add, do we have contracts tonight? Do we have A and B?
A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee.
We already have A, so we'll add a second.
Okay,
And then we'll do the teachers then as well.
okay.
All right, so that brings us to the modular classroom on the middle high school ground.
Actually, it was Yeah, I thought we wanted to add that.
Bus barn.
All right, so I'm happy to report that the Bus Barn's temporary trailer was delivered and set up today. We're looking to have an electrician come out tomorrow for power. It's an 8x32. It's $340 a month. With all fees, the total cost is $5,576.80. We currently have it rented for 9 months. And I believe I gave everyone a picture of what it looks like, if anybody wants to see.
Donna, can you repeat your numbers for me, please?
Sure, it's an 8x32, and it's $340 a month. With all fees, the setup fees, all those fees that they put, the total cost for the total 9 months is $5,576.80.
I'm sorry, Donna, I didn't get what the monthly was.
340,
340.
and it's on location.
It's on location. Yes, we met with Paul Brown, the fire chief, yesterday, in the building, inspector, thank you. And they told us exactly where it needed to go and how far away from the building and all that, so.
Now, I do have a question here from the picture that I'm seeing. Could we turn that around so that when our folks come out and onto the stairs, they're not coming out into a traffic area? Have it so the doors are facing the existing building.
I don't think we can have it turned around, because then I have to come out and move the whole thing again.
Yeah.
There'd be a fee for that.
In place.
There'd be a fee for that. I'm sure if we had to.
Well, we have the transportation coordinator. Are you okay with how it's set up?
Yes, due to the fact that you turn it around, if they ever do put that permanent structure in, you're gonna be walking right into the concrete wall. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's the only option we got right now.
We made sure that it was not in a location where, when they had to, if they had to pour the concrete
Sure.
for the permanent structure, this wasn't in the way.
I understand that. Yep,
So temporary,
I understand.
but that's good to keep in mind.
You know,
I wouldn't even have thought of that.
I see folks coming out those doors, down those stairs, and stepping into a tractor trailer truck of dirt going by and getting hurt. That was the first thing that I saw. But I understand how the temporary setup is, and you don't want to be interfering with the upcoming concrete and stuff. I agree with that, too.
Any other questions? Or?
No?
All right. That next moves us to the modular classroom at the middle high school. So I'm on the CTE building committee. Just to give a quick timeline so everybody kind of knows what we're talking about. So the committee was formed, I think, on June 9th, which I'm the board rep. I also have the BA, maintenance director. Ed now serves on it as a main focus here, as an advisor, because he's done, I think, what, 7 of these, or 6 of these projects. So anyway, so in August of 2022, we had to move the site from the south side to the north side. And we had a discussion what that implied for all the buildings. And unfortunately, the whole, because we didn't have Maura taking our minutes, but the minutes were not as detailed as our minutes normally are, because we were taking them as a staff. But we discussed what was going to happen with all the different sheds and everything else, and where maintenance would move to with the site moving over to the other side. So that took us to September of 2022, and I think that's when we made the decision to keep the building in place so that Harvey Construction, our construction management crew, they would be able to use it instead of renting them a structure such as this. And then at the time, We were estimating about $1,000 a month, but apparently, I mean, we can, based on your numbers, for the 18 months, it would be about $10,000 to rent that. So we're saving $10,000 by utilizing that modular classroom, the maintenance building, for our construction management group. We also had $50,000 budgeted to move that building if we needed to, if we were going to try to continue to use it. So $50,000 was budgeted into the project for the construction manager, if they had to move it, if we had somewhere else to put it on site, if that's what we wanted to go with. We decided not to do any of that based on the fact that the building is 23 years old, it'll be 24-ish by the time we do it. The modular classrooms are not supposed to be utilized, generally speaking, they're not utilized for that period of time. You can Google, if you're, to check my work, you can just Google how long does a modular classroom usually last, and it's 25 to 30 years, so that puts us at the tail end of it. Unfortunately, as the representative, when I was asked, I said it was junk, and that's why we're getting rid of it. I'm not getting rid of it because it's junk. We're getting rid of it because we don't have a need for it. And the construction bid that went in, that was approved for demo, says that, they take into account whenever you do a demo bid, that they're gonna take that and they can do whatever they want with it, just like if you do in your bathroom. If they're replacing your pipes and you have copper pipes, they'll put it into their bid so that they put into that accounting for how much they're gonna save or they're gonna profit based on all the little stuff they get from demo in your bathroom. That's just an example of how I understood it. So, at the, I just be frank, I was told that it's it's real estate and it's worth $50,000. So if that's the case, if it is real estate, then I violated one of our procedures which says real estate has to go, and I say I, as a representative on the committee that represents the public, it requires a town vote, which would mean that it would need a warrant article to be able to dispose of it. So I got two legal opinions that it's not real estate, it doesn't have to go to a town vote. And from my perspective, as the board member that sits on it, it's at the end of its lifespan, we're getting $10,000 of savings out of it. We're not having to, and we're gonna probably save, well, we are gonna save the $50,000 that's budgeted to relocate it if that's what we had decided to do on the initial end. Like that was one of our things that we, in August, that we had said, well, because we didn't know what we were gonna do with it at the time. So long story, somewhat shorter. At the end of the day, that building is scheduled for demolition. It's under contract. From my perspective, it's not real estate. And we had discussions before. I just didn't articulate it well enough because when I was asked, I was kind of flippant and said it was junk. But that's not the only reason why. It's not because it's junk. And I had a discussion with a previous board member because that's where I got the word junk from. And that came from when they were looking at it 5 years ago to possibly house the preschool. And so I called it junk. It's getting demoed in the next 5 or 6 months, and that's where we stand. And I feel, as the representative of the people that sit on that board, that we have gotten our value out of that building. It's not real estate, and I was okay with it then, and after doing research for the last month, I'm still okay with the decision that we made, but I wanted to make sure that the public understands, because there is a document out there on the tax side that says it's worth $50,000, and I would tell you that if it is worth $50,000, which I don't believe that it is, and I feel like if you were to go out there and look at it, you would say it's 23, almost 4 years old, it's not worth $50,000. We're getting value out of it by using it as a construction trailer right now, and we're gonna get that $50,000 we had budgeted to relocate it initially, that was in the initial plan, we'll get back that money to put towards the project in other forms. So by my calculations, we're getting $60,000 by scheduling a commitment. So I just wanted to put that out there and take responsibility as a board member representing the public that that's what happened. I'll open it up for discussion.
Okay, I strongly disagree. It was remodeled in the time span between new and now. We went and checked the condition of it, myself, Steve, and it is whole, it's good, it is not junk, and it's assessed for $59,000. So that being said, it's real estate. They don't assess your automobile as property. And in New Hampshire law, when a modular unit is connected up to utilities, it becomes real estate. So this debate, this difference of opinion between myself, Steve, and the superintendent has come to a boil. It is obviously useful. They're using it now. I saw no deterioration. The assessor found no. It's worth zero. And to say that it's not real estate, that means every double wide that you see in town is not real estate? It is. It is. And I think I proved that to you with, in one meeting, recommending that you look at Avatar to look at particular things. Because it is a modular, does not mean that it cannot be remodeled. Tim is not here tonight. He totally remodeled one. So to say that this unit can go and be demolished, it will not be demolished. Someone's going to haul it away for money. And I do not get the quid pro quo between its usage and the construction. Did we gain some? Probably. But that all being said, I strongly oppose and will strongly oppose this unit being termed as having little or no value. That means the assessor who assessed it was, not doing his job? $53,900 is the building value. Same assessor, done at the same time as all of our properties in town was done. If he doesn't know his business, then we should all complain about our assessments to the town. So I did not open this can up here tonight. Steve did. I strongly disagree and will continue to disagree as a board member. And if it gets to a point where it is untenable that we can't discuss it and get it done, then I will resign from this board and walk out.
What do you want to get done?
That's what we should talk about in non-public.
I have 2 legal reviews that say it's not real estate.
That has not been supplied to me, that's number one. That's a violation of policy, because also, you don't have to give it to me?
How is it a violation of policy?
Okay. I will show that to you in non-public.
Yes, sir.
Just got a couple questions. What was the demo bid?
It was, the bid that won was significantly less, probably because they're going to account for utilizing it for something else.
Can you share what it was?
I'll tell you, I don't know what I can say, but it was significant, like $100,000 less than the next bid.
Okay.
So that's another point of savings that I didn't bring up, but thank you.
How can we find out if you can share those exact numbers?
We don't have exact numbers, we have a bid for that.
Yeah, like, there's a bid for like
For
the
a
whole
site.
demo of the whole site, so I don't know exactly how much, but I know that the bid that won was significantly less than the other bid or two that came in for.
Okay. When was the assessment done?
Same time as the whole town was done, what,
Recent.
year and a half ago now?
Okay. And how long after the new building is completed is the demo going to take to finish?
So the demo has to be done before the new building is complete. So
what are they
when
gonna
put
do?
up the greenhouse, then that building will have to go.
Do you know what building they're talking about?
Well, I'm just curious because you're saying they're going to use the current building they're going to demo as their working facility. But that
currently
goes away
using it.
before. What are they going to do in that meantime?
So then, depending on the timing, because we're not quite there yet, depending on how much longer it takes, and if maintenance has moved in to the other building based on the change, then we'll just have them go with maintenance. It's the plan right now.
Okay. And did anybody have an inspection done on the building to see if it is workable or how much it would cost to repair it to make it make sense to move it?
No, because, no, we didn't.
I just-
Bert and I looked at it underneath, Bert walked around, and I'm not good with that kind of stuff, but I know from what I saw, it didn't, I mean, it wasn't rusting and falling apart, but it's 23 years old, and whenever you do take it apart, this was part of the discussion we had on the committee, was how easy is it going to get to put back together, because we've made modifications and everything else, which it might be easy, or it could, you could split it, take it apart, and it could collapse, even though I know Mr. Spalding's inspected it or whatever, but you never say never. And so when you're looking at all of that, and we didn't have a use for the building, we didn't want to have to hire somebody to try to sell it, and then if you do sell it, are they going to have it removed before the timing starts on construction? And I am not a construction guy, and so when I hear this from Harvey is a highly respected construction management team. I don't think that they were leading us in the wrong direction as we discussed it in our committee, because we rely on experts, because most of us that are on that committee aren't construction experts.
Yeah. Is it going to raise the total cost of the project to have it demoed?
No, it actually makes it cheaper to not have to do anything with it because of the way that the bid is so low.
It's just hard for me, and I'm assuming other people that don't have the numbers, to know that, because when you say it's $100,000 less than another
No,
bid,
so
it sounds...
what the construction management crew said, the two schools or the two buildings that they moved in Nashua on site, their classrooms are just about the same size, $100,000 for two. So that means it would cost $50,000 if they were put out the contract. It might come in less. I know because Tim had a trailer move that it didn't cost that much, but then again, they didn't do everything they were supposed to do either, if that makes sense. And so that was like my only frame of reference, was knowing what the other board member had paid to move a trailer, a year ago, about the same time it was happening. And it was not, it wasn't done professionally, but it was $10,000 for that. The construction management crew gave us an example of the two at Nashua being moved, and that's why we had budgeted $50,000 initially, whenever they knew that once we had to move it. Harvey recommended $50,000, and then that's when we discussed, well, we don't have anywhere to go with it, we don't have anything to do with it, and so then we just put it as part of the demo, because it is at the end of its lifespan as far as modular classrooms go. And modular classrooms have their own RSA, it's not a mobile home, it's a modular classroom, which falls under a totally different set of rules in real estate.
Okay, so if it was going to be reused, it could not be reused as a classroom.
Correct.
If it were to be repurposed, especially if the school district was doing it, it has to be brought up to current building codes.
And the other thing that we talked about is if we did have somewhere to put it up, how will we maintain security at the level of which we're operating and building the new sites out to be, as for a classroom per se, to like utilize it as, you know, come put it out here in the parking lot or whatever.
It's for maintenance.
Okay, there's got to be room for more, Steve. They move them every day. It is movable. It does have value. It was gone through. I had heard $20,000+ in renovations. We found nothing wrong with it that day. A few pieces of siding. The vapor barrier, I crawled all the way underneath it. The vapor barrier is still in there. So to keep pushing that it doesn't have any value is to say that the assessor was full of shit.
The assessor is full of shit. I
Okay.
can prove it with my $150,000.
I didn't speak while you were speaking. Now I'll speak and have my form also, right? Okay? Your house was built in the 70s, 50 years old. It's worth $700,000 right now.
Hardly.
Okay, what is it, 400,000?
Probably.
Or is it going to be torn down and demoed because it isn't worth anything? Okay, so this conversation should end right now, and we should further discuss real estate handlings in non-public to get it all out.
I won't discuss real estate because it's not real estate.
It is.
I can show it to you in there and then we can have that discussion.
How is it assessed if it's not real estate?
Because they,
You need to
so
call
now
them.
we're putting assessors up there as these guys that know exactly what they're doing and everything that they say is accurate and correct. They don't make mistakes. They don't just value stuff.
Even if they make a mistake, they're not saying it's junk. They didn't put it down to 0 or
I told
10,000.
you I was wrong when I said it was junk. I said I was being flippant because I didn't realize that where the conversation was going. It was a setup. You set me up when you asked me. You already had an idea of what you wanted me to, that you wanted to talk about it, and I just said, I don't know, it's junk, it's gone. I just Not for us, you're already talking. All right, so I guess that moves us to our next item of business. No more discussion on this?
Not now.
New hires?
There is not any.
One resignation?
Yeah, Tucker Guyette, he was the English teacher at the middle school. He resigned, all his fees have been paid. So I'm asking the board tonight to go ahead and release him from his contract.
You say he doesn't owe us anything?
Correct, he does not owe us anything.
I move that the board accepts the resignation of Tucker Guyette.
Yes.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
All right, I also just want to let the board know that there's 3 letters going out requesting payment in January, or this is for 3 staff members that left last year, that we have required them to pay the fee. They have not paid the fee yet. So I have 3 letters that are currently going out that state if they don't make the payment in January, that we are going to process them through small claims court.
Are they going out as registered letters?
Yes, Yep, they are.
Moves us next to committee report outs.
So the BAC had their first meeting on November 28th. We discussed the process, and then we discussed the district calendar. We also scheduled meetings. And so when we're looking at meetings, one of them, as you know, we talked about the January 4th will be one, which will be a budget review meeting. And then January 9th will be the public hearing. The BAC is required to have 1 public hearing, and so that was, we're looking at, doing that on January 9th, which will be followed by a regular meeting, and that's when they determine if they, they usually says the BAC recommends these articles or whatever, so that's when they will make that decision. All the meetings will take place here at the SAU, starting at 6:30.
We had a policy committee meeting, but we're about to go over those policies, so I will defer. We did have a CTE committee meeting where we had to make some we had to make approvals for some change orders on both our end and on the construction management's end. But nothing big. Everything is on schedule and moving as planned. We expect to have business back in their area the second week of January, so that's a good progress moving forward. And they're already making great strides over there. It's just looking great. Any other committees?
Question for you. Change orders after you get into construction are usually very, very expensive. So when I hear change orders, my antennas go up.
Not very, these were not very expensive. These were, I think, the most,
40 grand total, and we
yeah,
had
it
like
was total
8 or
40
10.
grand out of like 6 or 7.
Okay.
So kind of small difference. One of them, the biggest one was the
15 grand for electrical work for the donated,
plasma cutter
Plasma
that
cutter.
they had donated to us. So originally, we hadn't factored in, because they were donating
System
it,
big enough
but
for
then we had to factor in the installation costs. So we had to add installation costs for the plasma cutter.
So in other words, fear not. So in other words, fear not.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so then that moves us to policies.
Right, so for new policies that you have tonight, the first one that I want to talk about is, it's ACN, and that is Nursing Mother Accommodations. That one is required by law. And this is for accommodations in the workplace for employees and students. We'll put this together, so it's for employees and students who are nursing. The district, just as a district, the high school students anticipating the possibility of students who have such need may wish to adopt a singular policy for both students and employees. We've chosen to adopt, as the policy committee has chosen to adopt and move forward, one policy that will be for both the mother and, if it's, well, mother, whether they're an employee or they are a student. Do you want me to just continue?
Do we normally vote on these individually, or? This is the first read.
Yeah, this is the first read.
But we do vote on them, so we do make a
Yeah.
motion. So I'll move that we.
More discussion? No, make the motion.
I move that we accept the first reading of ACN Nursing Mother's Accommodation.
There.
Second.
Not for me.
Motion fails.
You mentioned the law, the statute that isn't part of your wording here. Is this an interpretation of the intent of the statute? And not to be answered now,
Oh,
okay? The information, excuse me, the information should be available to us so that we know that the broadness of what we've got meets the statutory requirements before we approve it.
yes, just so you're aware, these are policies that are written by the New Hampshire School Board Association, which is an association that this school board is part of, and it's written by their attorneys. So I just want to say.
I understand that, but your qualifications for a school board member has in it, and has been there for years, a prior restraint on speech of that board member, and it's not been changed, and it's gone through the entire process. It still stands in our policies today, which is federally unlawful. So I need to see the statute.
Okay.
Wait,
The statute, it's,
the statute for talking at meetings or the statute for the nursing mothers?
For the nursing.
They can't speak while they're nursing.
just throw my stuff
So this should have a.
in. Yeah, that.
The word is
that
incorrigible.
Yeah, but that one didn't, yeah. But the policies and legal references are at the end of the policy.
Okay.
So you want the actual, to read that, okay.
Do you want that for all of these? Because we can just end this whole policy thing now. That's,
For all of them being a first read, it's not a problem.
Well, the KCD policy is a current policy that we have, which is first read revised. So are we,
At this point, Donna, I guess I really don't care. I am not going to put my stamp on those policies tonight.
Is that because you don't like our conversation earlier, or is this because?
No, it's because the policy committee, there isn't a policy committee. There's a policy committee of one, you.
no,
No, that's not even.
Who's the other one?
we have probably about 10 people on the committee?
Wait a minute, as a board, we had 2 people there, which was Jenna.
We changed this a year ago, Bert.
Yep. Well,
We did it at a board meeting where we discussed changing it.
okay. There have been, from those activities, no reports back to the board as to what you're doing, including going back a step to the contract for the support staff. So that all,
I get the support staff contract, I get that, but we've been doing policies like this for a year and a half since, and then we actually improved it, and I back briefed the board on how awesome it is to have more than just 3 of us sitting there trying to figure out policies, that we have building principals and everybody else providing us feedback.
before it comes in ink to us, Steve, has there been any communication between you and the remainder of the board on the content of that?
No, this is the first meeting we've had since we had this meeting.
Has there been any contact about it beforehand? The answer to that is no.
It's always been no. There was never, I don't understand. I think that, I got it. We will table the policies until I provide the brief that you're providing to the board. We're going to change that up now. All right, what's next?
She's got a question.
Yes.
So I just want to clarify, it is my belief that when you enter into negotiations, both sides sign a document that says you cannot discuss what is happening in those negotiation meetings with other parties until you are all done. So even if you wanted to bring something back to the board, you couldn't. Just like the teachers and support staff cannot go back and talk to their members about it until it is all said and done.
Until you ratify it.
Which is exactly how we've done it.
For years.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so, administration comments?
Okay, so I just wanted to let everyone know that the district is closed starting December 25th and will reopen on January 2nd. I also want to give a very, very huge shout out to the staff. As I usually do at every meeting, how important they are. This week has been amazing, how much they've really pulled together. I think we had 18 staff out yesterday at Richards. They had 14 staff out.
There was 39 total.
39 total today of staff that have been out, and teachers have been working together to make sure our students are still getting the education that they need. So some of the teachers have been combining classrooms, so if there's 2 second grade teachers, if there's a second grade teacher out, they would combine with another class. I think one of the classes they combined, and there's been a lot of students that have been out as well. And so they had, some of them have combined and have a total of 10 students with the combined class. So the kids are still getting the education that they need and they deserve, and the staff are really pulling a lot of weight right now. And so it's enough doesn't get said about how remarkable our staff is. And so I just want to make sure that I give another shout out to them for all their hard work and dedication to our district with the amount of pay that they do receive.
Darrell, you got anything?
No, sir.
Bert?
No.
Just reiterate what you said, Donna. Thank you to all the teachers for working hard. Thank you, citizens, for being present. Reminder that from my perspective, from what I see at this level and my involvement is behavior. So any parents of students out there that are watching, just continue to work with your students, your children. You're just working on behaviors, and so that I know it's hard to sit in the class for 8 hours, and just appreciate any help that the parents can give us on that from my perspective of seeing the reports that I see coming. All right, on that note, we will take a 10-minute recess. It is now 7:05 p.m.
Mr. Chair, will the board likely be taking action after the non-public?
I would probably suspect not tonight.